Welcome back to day 16 of this Chronological Bible podcast series, where we dive deep into the stories of the Bible and explore their timeless lessons. Today, we're focusing on a pivotal moment in Genesis, the call of Abram in chapters 12 to 15. It's a story that sets the stage for a journey of faith, obedience, and divine promise. Let's get into it.
Absolutely. The moment God calls Abram to leave his homeland is one of the most iconic in biblical history. God tells him to leave everything behind, his family, his country, even his father's house, and go to a land that he will show him. It's a huge leap of faith, especially when you consider Abram was 75 years old at the time.
Right, and that's something that really stands out to me. God didn't give him the whole map, just a direction. I mean, imagine being told to leave everything familiar, not knowing where you're going or what's ahead. That's some serious trust.
Yeah, and what's fascinating is that God promises him that he will make of him a great nation, even though Abram and Sarai don't have any children at that point. It's like God is inviting Abram into something bigger than himself. He's telling him, you're going to be the father of many nations, but you've got to take that first step.
Exactly. And it's not just a promise of greatness, but also of blessing. I will bless you, and you will be a blessing, God says. It's almost like a ripple effect that extends beyond Abram himself. Those who bless him will be blessed, and those who curse him will face consequences.
That's such a powerful statement. It's almost like God is setting up Abram as a conduit for his blessing to the entire world. What stands out even more is that Abram doesn't hesitate. He obeys, takes Sarai, Lot, and all their possessions, and heads to Canaan.
And when they arrive in Canaan, God speaks again. He tells Abram, "To your offspring, I will give this land." It's a reaffirmation of the promise, but this time, Abram responds by building an altar to the Lord. It's his way of acknowledging that God is the source of this promise.
Yes, and the symbolism of building an altar is significant. It's not just about offering a sacrifice, but about marking that moment of divine encounter, right? It's like saying, this is where I met God, this is where his promise was confirmed.
Absolutely. And despite all the promises, Abram faces a challenge soon after. There's a famine in the land, and he ends up going to Egypt for survival. This is where things get a little complicated.
Right, because as they approach Egypt, Abram fears for his life. He's worried that the Egyptians will kill him to take Sarai, who's described as a very beautiful woman. So, he asks Sarai to tell everyone that she's his sister instead of his wife. It's a bit of a risky move, isn't it?
It is. It's almost like Abram is acting out of fear, despite the fact that God has already promised to bless him. It's a reminder that even the greatest of faith can sometimes waver when faced with real danger. And sure enough, Pharaoh takes Sarai into his palace, but God steps in and afflicts Pharaoh's household with plagues.
And this is where things get even more interesting. Pharaoh eventually realizes what's going on and confronts Abram. He asks, "Why didn't you tell me she was your wife?" It's a kind of awkward moment, right? Abram's deception causes Pharaoh a lot of trouble, but somehow it all works out in the end. Pharaoh sends Abram away, giving him and Sarai everything they came with, plus more.
It's such a strange twist, but it also shows God's grace, doesn't it? Even when Abram makes a questionable decision, God still protects him. It's like God's plan isn't derailed by human mistakes.
Definitely. And after that, we see Abram returning to the land of Canaan, back to the place where he originally built an altar. It's like a return to his roots, a way of coming back to where he first encountered God's promise. But there's another issue now. The land can't support all of Abram's and Lot's possessions.
Right. And this leads to the separation between Abram and Lot. There's tension between their herdsmen, so Abram offers Lot the choice to go in whichever direction he wants. Lot chooses the fertile land near Sodom, which, as we know, is a city known for its wickedness.
It's an interesting choice. Lot goes for what looks good on the outside, the well-watered plains near Sodom, but doesn't seem to consider the moral implications of living so close to a city full of sin. And this sets up a theme that will play out later in the story.
It's true. Meanwhile, after Lot leaves, God reaffirms his promise to Abram again, telling him to look in every direction and see the land that will belong to his descendants. The scope of the promise seems to expand. It's not just a piece of land, it's the whole land of Canaan.
And the promise gets even more expansive when God tells Abram that his descendants will be as numerous as the dust of the earth. It's not just about inheriting land, it's about the multiplication of Abram's lineage. And, of course, Abram responds by building another altar to the Lord.
We see that Abram's journey is not just physical, but also spiritual. Every time God reaffirms the promise, Abram's faith seems to grow stronger, and his response is always an act of worship. Even in the face of challenges, he turns to God.
That's a great point. And speaking of challenges, we know that trouble isn't far behind for Abram. Soon we're introduced to a military conflict in Genesis 14, where Abram plays the role of a rescuer.
Yes, Lot gets captured during a war between the kings of Sodom and Gomorrah, and Abram doesn't hesitate to gather his men and rescue him. This is such a powerful moment. Abram, despite everything he's been through, is willing to risk everything to save his family.
It's a true act of courage and loyalty, and after rescuing Lot, we meet Melchizedek, the king of Salem, who blesses Abram. This is a key moment because Melchizedek is described as the priest of God Most High, and he blesses Abram for his victory. It's also the first mention of tithing. Abram gives him a tenth of everything.
It's fascinating how Abram, in this moment, acknowledges Melchizedek's authority, even though we don't know much about him. This shows Abram's humility and his recognition that everything he has, even his victory, comes from God.
Exactly. And when the king of Sodom offers Abram a reward, Abram refuses, saying he doesn't want anyone to say they made him rich. It's a sign of his complete trust in God, not in human power or wealth.
What a powerful stance! Abram, throughout these chapters, shows us that faith isn't just about believing in the promises of God. It's about responding in obedience, worship, and trust, even when things don't go according to plan.
Absolutely. And as we look ahead in the story, there's so much more to explore. Abram's journey is just beginning, and the promises God made to him will unfold in powerful ways.
That's right. We'll dive deeper into Abram's story in future episodes. But for now, let's leave our listeners with this thought. What does it mean to trust God in the unknown? How do we respond when God calls us out of our comfort zones? It's a question worth reflecting on as we continue our own journeys of faith.
Definitely. Thanks for joining us today, and we look forward to unpacking more of Abram's story in our next episode. Stay tuned.
Take care, everyone. Have an awesome and blessed day.